what's the impact been like for you guys on the business?
So it's changing every day. Like, one of the things that we're thinking about a lot is the three phases of what every business is going through. And maybe just as a precursor to this, like, we're going to go talk about business and brands and commercial stuff. Obviously, this is all hugely secondary to the very real, very pressing health concerns. And, this is going to affect a lot of people's loved ones. And there's real stuff at play here. And I'm not saying that how brands are selling more products is in any way or means more important than that. But that's the world that I'm spending my day to day in, and that's what we're talking about. So,
yeah,
in terms of thinking about how brands are getting through this period, we're sort of thinking about the three phases that we're going through. And so, the first one is crisis phase, which is just, holy fuck, the whole world is on fire. Then there's a recovery phase, and the recovery phase is probably split into two parts, which maybe we can talk about in a minute. And then we have the new reality, right? Which is when everything goes back to whatever the new version of normal is. So crisis, recovery, and new reality. And within recovery, I think there's two parts of that. I should say Chris Savage, our chairman, thinks there's two parts of us, and he's the one who's sort of been talking us through this. There's the twilight zone and there's the new dawn, right? So you've got crisis, twilight zone, new dawn, new reality. I feel like the crisis part, touch wood, is kind of finishing. And the crisis part of what the fuck is going on, and in the crisis period, basically everything was just getting pulled. Nobody wanted to do anything, right? Even safe, locked in pieces of business got pulled. And there is very little talk about what's new, what's next. It's now been a couple of weeks, and marketers are realizing that, well, I can't just do nothing for the next 6 months, right? And I know there's opportunities out here in this, and the conversations are starting to warm up. And where we've really been focused as an agency is, where can we help our clients? Where are the opportunities in this thing? And so at the moment, we're sort of in this twilight zone where it's like, is it okay to be in market? Is it not okay to be in market? What should my tone be? What's happening with my workforce? Can I actually bring them back? When am I going to be able to open my stores? And that's going to hopefully move into a new dawn where that's going to pick up some momentum, and people are going to say, yes, okay, we are going to do this. It's not going to be the way we thought it was. There's no physical shoots, but let's look at an animation version of this, or we're not going to be talking about X, Y, and Z. Instead, we're going to be talking about A, B, and Z, because we're going to be in this for, the next 6 months or so. And at some point after that, we'll be in a new reality. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know how many of these things we've all adapted to are going to snap straight back versus how many, like, people are just going to start shaking hands in the street. Is everybody going to be lining up outside restaurants as soon as we can get back in? Is everybody going to pile back into offices? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
So to actually answer your question, how has business been? The 2 weeks of crisis were brutal and terrifying, because literally everything just felt like it was evaporating. But, it's never as good as you think. It's never as bad as you think. And what we're seeing now is a really great amount of upwards momentum, some amazing ideas coming out of the agency, some wonderful opportunities to help clients and help them be relevant in this crazy, crazy time we're in.
Yeah. I really like the way that was broken down. I think you're right. We're sort of in that recovery stage where people are just realizing, like, this is the new normal. It's going to be like this for a certain amount of time. And that you need to do something. Like, life isn't completely coming to a standstill. It is for a lot of people, but you can't, like, what are you going to do? You've still got mouths to feed. You can't just stop doing everything. So,
and saying that we're in recovery, I mean, that's not to take anything away from, I think that the closest I've ever come to crying about a client or on a call with a client was when Tiger said they were just grounding their fleet. Like, I don't think we've ever had a client we've fallen so deeply in love with so quickly as that. Those guys are just an incredible group of people who are against the odds every day. And, as you can see the world shutting down and the aviation industry being shut down, it just became obvious that this is what's going to happen next. And, those guys are still, I'm sure, very much in crisis and working out how they are going to get through the next phase. And there's lots of retail and hospitality businesses that are probably still in that phase as well.
Yeah. there is definitely certain industries that are more impacted than most: travel,
Mm,
hospitality, all that sort of stuff. Um,
yeah.
which we're seeing as well. I think retail is big for us. That's been the biggest thing. Um,
Mm,
I found it funny that in your interview, you guys are talking about new ways of working and how funny it is that sort of like this is sort of a meme I've seen going around on LinkedIn, right? Like, who's the biggest change manager in your in your workplace? Is it the CEO, the CTO, the COO, or coronavirus? And sort of
yeah.
the intention there with that is that we've gone from working in offices to completely at homes. I know Russell was saying that workplaces are likely to become more like clubhouses, which, funnily enough, it sounds like and having been to your office, I know that is the case. It definitely looks like a clubhouse, a whiskey bar, basketball court. Um, how,
Yeah.
we're talking about things
I
slingshotting.
thought that was a really interesting suggestion from Russell that, maybe not for every business, but for businesses like ours, where we're seeing the benefits of deep work getting done from outside of the office, that if our offices do end up becoming clubhouses where people come to congregate there and have group meetings there and do brainstorms and stuff, but there's lots of work that gets done from people's own homes, I think it's a really interesting thing to consider.